There's just something magical about a perfect glass of wine, isn't there? That color, the smell, the taste. It's more than just a drink. It's a whole experience, connecting us to a place and a tradition that's been around forever.
Right? We all have this romantic picture in our heads. Beautiful rolling hills, vines soaking up the sun, and a skilled winemaker carefully tending to it all. It feels like this perfect dance between nature and people, working together to create something amazing.
But here's the thing. Behind that beautiful, peaceful scene, there is a war going on. It's a constant, high-stakes battle against a whole army of tiny, relentless invaders. And they're all trying to take out the fruit before it even gets a chance to become that wine in your glass.
So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that secret battle. We're going to dive into the unseen war for your wine, take a look at the pests and diseases that threaten vineyards, and explore the incredible science that winemakers use to defend their harvest.
All right, let's get into it by meeting the enemy. Because growers are up against a surprisingly varied cast of characters, and each one has its own special way of causing chaos.
The main villains fall into four big groups. You've got fungi, which bring on rot and mildew. Then you've got bacteria and viruses that can make a plant sick from the inside out. And of course, there's a whole crew of pests, everything from tiny mites to hungry caterpillars. Each one is a different kind of threat, which turns the vineyard into a 24/7 battleground.
Now, of all these, if you had to pick a public enemy number one, it would probably be fungal diseases. They are just so common and so persistent. They can go after every single green part of the vine, the leaves, the shoots, and, the precious grapes themselves.
Just take a look here. On the left, everything's perfect, vibrant, and healthy. But on the right, see those greasy-looking oil stains? That's downy mildew. This stuff loves warm, humid weather. And if it gets out of hand, it makes the leaves dry up and fall off way too early, which basically starves the vine of the energy it needs to make the grapes ripe and delicious.
And here you can see what happens directly to the fruit. This is what gray rot does. It's just devastating. The fungus turns the berries into this moldy, disgusting mush, totally wrecking the whole cluster. It's not just that you get fewer grapes. The rot also tanks the quality of any wine you might try to make, messing up its color, its aroma, even its alcohol level.
And here's another major player in the fungus world, powdery mildew. See how it covers everything in that ashy white powder? It stunts the grapes' growth and stops them from ripening properly. It's like it's suffocating the fruit.
But the threat isn't just from the microscopic world of fungi. Sometimes the biggest danger comes in a really, really small package. In fact, one tiny little insect caused one of the biggest disasters in the entire history of wine.
And that enemy's name was phylloxera. It's this tiny aphid-like pest that attacks the roots of the vine. So it does all its damage underground where you can't even see it. It feeds on the roots, they start to rot, and before you know it, the entire plant is dead. Back in the 1800s, it wiped out massive portions of Europe's vineyards. The whole industry had to completely reinvent itself by grafting their vines onto American rootstocks that were naturally resistant. It's a technique they still use today.
And the insect threat is still very real. This little guy is the larva of the grape moth, and it is a specialist. It burrows right into the berries to eat, destroying them from the inside out. But what's worse is that the holes it makes become open doors for other diseases, like that gray rot we just saw, to come marching in, causing even more damage.
So with an army of enemies this big and this diverse, how in the world do winemakers even begin to fight back? Well, it's not about brute force anymore. Modern grape growing is way, way smarter than that.
The modern approach is called integrated control, and the basic idea is to stop looking for one single magic bullet. Instead, it's about using every tool in the toolbox. It's a really sophisticated strategy that blends different methods to manage pests and diseases in a way that's both super effective and sustainable.
This whole strategy really stands on four main pillars. It all starts with cultural systems. That's about building a healthy vineyard from the get-go. Then you have genetic control, which uses the plant's own natural defenses. That's backed up by biological control, which is basically recruiting nature's own pest patrol. And only then, as a final, carefully aimed tool, do they bring in chemical systems.
So those first two pillars are really the foundation. Cultural control is all about prevention, making sure the soil is healthy, keeping weeds in check, and, this is a big one, starting with vines that are already healthy and disease-free. Genetic control taps into nature's own programming, just like that clever solution to phylloxera. You choose plants and rootstocks that are naturally tough against pests. It's all about building a strong defense from the ground up. Now, the third pillar, biological control, is where things get really cool. This is about recruiting a tiny army of allies right from the local ecosystem. So instead of just spraying to kill off pests, the idea is to encourage the good bugs, like ladybugs, to hang around and take care of the bad bugs for you. It's about bringing back a natural balance to make the whole vineyard healthier and more resilient.
And finally, we have that fourth pillar, chemical systems. Now, when these are needed, they're used with incredible precision. There are three main ways they work. Contact products are like a protective shield that just sits on the outside of the plant. Penetrating ones soak in a little deeper, moving from cell to cell inside the leaves. And then systemic products are like a vaccine for the plant. They get absorbed into the sap and circulate everywhere, protecting the whole vine, even the new bits that grow after it's been treated.
So, what does this all add up to? Well, it means modern winemaking is so much less about brute force and so much more about deep knowledge. It's a much smarter kind of viticulture that carefully balances biology, ecology, and technology. Really, the modern philosophy is all about being smart and responsible. Growers use weather data to actually predict when a disease might pop up so they can get ahead of it. They have to know exactly what enemy they're fighting before they do anything. And treatments are super targeted, reserved only for the most serious threats and applied with total precision, following really strict safety and environmental rules.
So the next time you pour a glass of wine and you're admiring how it looks and tastes, just take a second to remember the unseen battle that was won to make that moment possible. It's proof, not just of nature's generosity, but also of the incredible science and constant watchfulness that protects those grapes from a world of threats, making sure that what finally ends up in your glass is absolutely perfect.